Welcome back to On Tap Bets, presented by On Tap Sportsnet. He's Joey Ricotta. I'm Iowa Zach, and we've got a good slate of NFL bets. We're going to walk through the Week 7 NFL slate this week. We were on last night talking about college football. We're going to hit the NFL tonight. Before we do, I just want to send a reminder out to all our friends and listeners. On Tap Sportsnet has a partnership with Bet Rivers. So if you're looking for a better place to bet, go to betrivers.com and enter promo code ONTAP for a free deposit match up to $250. That's betrivers.com, promo code ONTAP. Joey, 2 nights in a row, brother. It's awesome to be back with you. How you doing?
Yeah, man. Feel like I just saw you.
I know.
It's very weird. It's awesome though. It's great. I think we should do this more often. It's I'm excited to talk some NFL. That's obviously I always look forward to just binging the red zone and then watching the Bears get their asses kicked every week. So yeah, man, I'm excited. Let's get to it. How are you doing?
I hear you. I'm good, man. I'm good. Friday night, late into the night, so I've been hitting the booze a little bit, as I'm sure you have as well. Having a good night, hung out with the wife, watched some sports. It's been good. It's been good. Just watched the Astros actually move on, which can't say I'm too excited about, but it is what it is. So
no one is.
Yeah, it's a good night. Ready to head into the weekend. I got a bachelor party tomorrow. So yeah. Good start to a hopefully good weekend. So
hell yeah, man. And it's shout out to my mom. I don't know. I know she likes to tune into this stuff. She reads just about every one of my articles. And it's her birthday today too. So happy birthday to you, Mom, if you are watching this right now. And I feel bad that I couldn't see it today. I know you haven't been feeling that well lately, so that's the big reason why. But yeah, there's that, and the Bulls got a big W tonight. They look great, so it's a pretty good Friday, man.
Yeah, I heard that. Congrats on the Bulls, and happy birthday, Mrs. Ricotta. That's awesome. That's really cool. We'll try to swear a little less tonight in your honor.
We'll try.
I got my Lakers on behind me. They're getting their asses whooped right now as I talk about swearing less. So. Hey, congrats to the Bulls on that big win. Nice start to the season and kind of promising crew there in Chicago. So
no doubt,
should be fun. Yeah,
no doubt, man. We had some Bulls on tap guys there too at this game. Look like I think I want to say Buzz was there and Cody. From what I saw on Twitter, anyways.
Okay,
they were there, so that's cool for them. They got to see the home opener W, and yeah, man, it was. It's there's some positive things happening, at least for the basketball side of Chicago. Everything else maybe not so positive, but we have that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, how about we talk some NFL bets, buddy? I got a nice slate for us. I'm going to start with Kansas City at Tennessee this week. Kansas City laying 4.5, and the over/under is 57.5 on this one. I'm gonna jump into this one first. This Kansas City team has been. It's been weird this year, man. We've seen Kansas City so dominant for so long, and now they're 3-3. They're coming in on a win over Washington, 6.5 point favorites in that one, so they covered. And this is still the offense that they have been, right? Second in the league in passing yards, number 1 in terms of passing touchdowns with 18 already. But Joey, this defense is absolutely fucking garbage, as it has been. I mean, over the past couple of years, we've seen a Kansas City team that has won off the arm of Patrick Mahomes and off the legs of Patrick Mahomes. But it's getting even worse. This defense is just atrocious. 27th in rushing yards allowed, 30th in rushing touchdowns allowed, and 31st in defensive DVOA per Football Outsiders. On the other side, you've got Tennessee, and we know what Tennessee brings, a running game that is absolutely stacked with Derrick Henry back there. I like Tennessee in this, Joey, plus 4.5. When you look at Kansas City's lineup, they haven't played good teams well. Pretty bad losses to Baltimore, the Chargers, and Buffalo. Really, any significantly good team they play, they haven't performed. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a day against this absolute garbage Kansas City defense. And, I mean, Tennessee's defense has had some questions, but they proved last week with a big win over Buffalo that they can hang with a pretty good offense. So I like Tennessee at home. I'm going to take the points. Tennessee 4.5. That's my pick. What do you think, Joey?
All right. So, yeah, I mean, I like it. I didn't like it enough to go that way, but I'm not going the other way either. I mean, obviously, this is the highest scoring projected game of the week as far as totals go. It's up there. It's a huge total. They're expecting a lot of points.
Yeah.
That's a ton. And when you have a situation like that, I really don't like taking the over with an NFL game with a total that high either. So I mean, it's really hard to predict because you could have one of these instances where we'll say Tannehill doesn't show up, say they just load the box against Henry and find a way to stop him. This is going to go a little bit against like what you were saying with Derrick Henry and stuff, but one of my favorite plays in this game, and I actually have two. I know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I have two bets in this game. One of them is Derrick Henry under his 147.5 rushing and receiving yards. So I don't like taking the under on his rushing yards or his receiving yards like individually, but combined, I think that's just a massive number. And he's hit that number 4 times already. He's went over that number 4 times already this year. So I mean, it's not an outrageous line, but what I think here is that's more of like his closer to his ceiling than it is his mean projection. So I think, with Casey getting Chris Jones back this week and he's actually getting more targets through the air too. He's producing that way this season. It's crazy, but as bad as Casey's defense has been, and especially against the run, they faced some really good rushing quarterbacks this season. They faced Lamar Jackson. They faced Jalen Hurts. They faced Josh Allen, who also uses his legs. Herbert even had some scrambling. He had some yards against them a little bit. So if you count only rushing yards allowed versus opposing running backs, they allow just over 86 yards per game compared to 133.2 total rushing yards per game. So it's scary. This is like the hold your nose play of the week. But I like Henry to go under his combined rushing plus receiving yards, 147.5.
Yeah, that's an interesting play with Derrick Henry averaging 130 yards per game already. So that'll be interesting. I like that term "hold your nose" play. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that one. I like that.
Yeah, and the other one I had just real quickly was AJ Brown over 60.5 receiving yards. If we expect this game to be as high scoring as we do, like Vegas tells us, I mean, Tennessee being the underdogs, A.J. Brown is one of the best in the business as far as yak goes. He's a yak monster. When he gets the ball in his hands, he just goes. Put up 7 catches for 91 yards versus Buffalo. They're first in pass DVOA. KC ranks 31st, second worst in pass DVOA. So with Julio Jones questionable with a hamstring injury, Brown should dominate the targets, so I love this over as well.
Yeah, good call. All right, let's move on. Cincinnati at Baltimore. Baltimore laying 6.5 in this one. The over-under is 46. What's your play, Joe?
Yeah, I like the Bengals here, man. I do. I know the Ravens are rolling, but they are rolling. But Cincinnati's much better this season. I mean, you look at it on paper, they're actually allowing the 5th fewest points per game, 18.5. Also, 5th in defense DVOA. So, I mean, this defense has actually been pretty stout. I know they haven't faced like the greatest of opponents altogether, but I mean, the Ravens are they're still dealing with injuries. Latavius Murray and Sammy Watkins are going to be out. All-pro left tackle Ronnie Stanley is not going to return. He's having another ankle surgery, season-ending injury. And let's not forget, of course, the Ravens won that game against the Lions with a last-second field goal, 66-yarder by Justin Tucker. And I know they've gotten it really – they're steamrolling guys after that since then. But And is Cincinnati's defense legit? I mean, I don't know, but I think they're improved compared to 26 points per game allowed last year. That's a pretty big improvement. So, I mean, the thing that scares me is the Ravens have outscored the Bengals 114-19 over their last 3 meetings. And the Bengals haven't beaten the Ravens since Lamar became their quarterback. So I just think behind all the weapons with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Mixon, I think they're going to hang around in this divisional matchup. The Bengals, if they win this game, they're in first place in the AFC North. So that's all the motivation they're going to need. I'll take the points with Cincy.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side on this one. I agree with a lot of what you said, and this game gave me a lot of pause, Joey. This was not an easy pick for me. Latavius Murray being out was a cause for concern for me, but Devontae Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, and Tyson Williams. I mean, Tyson Williams averaging 5.5 yards a carry. I think he can. I think that crew can pick up what's lost by Latavius Murray. And you're right, the Cincinnati defense is significantly improved over what we've seen in previous years. I mean, these are not the same Bengals. But when you look game by game, that rush defense, which has been a huge strong point for them, has been slipping. 142 yards allowed against Detroit, 103 yards against Green Bay. I just can't get past Baltimore's hot streak right now. 5 straight wins, coming off a 21-point win over the Chargers. And man, the Chargers to me were one of the best teams in the league and still are. I was supremely impressed by that. There wasn't a lot to lean on in trends here. Both these teams are 3-3 against the spread. I'm going with the home team. I'm going with the hot team. I'll lay the points. I think this is a good touchdown game. So I jumped on Baltimore at 6.5, but not an easy one. I could see it. I could see either way.
Yeah, and I will say you're getting that. That's the right number to get. You're on the better side of the number too. Like the 6.5.
Yeah,
that's scary for me taking the points.
All right, man. Washington at Green Bay. Green Bay laying 8. The over/under here is 47. Green Bay 5-1. Washington 2-4. I know we have a lot of listeners that are fans of Chicago. Got a nice taste of Green Bay last week. This Washington team is just atrocious. I looked up and down this lineup, and I just don't see a clear way that Washington can score. I mean, 24th in passing yards per game, 19th in rushing yards. I mean, they just really don't have much of an offense here. And they haven't been competitive at all in some of these games. Any quality team that Washington has played, when you look at the, winning records that they've played, they've lost by 13 points per game. And then you got a further kick in the nuts this week. Antonio Gibson has been limited in practice this week. I don't know if that's locked in, if he's out yet. The only kind of thing Washington had was a decent running game. And if Gibson's out, that's a problem. And then you look, Green Bay 5-1 against the spread, Washington 1-5. Green Bay hasn't failed to cover a spread since week 1. I'm taking the Packers here, laying the 8. It's a lot of points, but it's Green Bay at home, man. I'm good with it. Green Bay -8. That's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is more my heart than anything, but I just can't find myself to bet the Packers here. But it's mostly because of the number. I just don't like that -8.
Yeah, it's an ugly number. I hate it.
Yeah, but I'm not betting Washington. Like, you're on the side that I would take. If I'm going to bet this, I'm going to bet the Packers. But I'm kind of more on the props in this game too. So real quick, I do like Ricky Seals-Jones over 36.5 receiving yards. He's played 100% of the snaps last week. He's been getting a lot more targets since taking over the tight end role, starting tight end role. 15 targets over the last 2 weeks, at least 4 catches and 41 yards in each of the last 2 games. So I like that. But the main bet that I really like here, and this will go hand in hand with your bet with the Packers, kind of like maybe an onslaught here. Aaron Rodgers over 252.5 passing yards. I would play this up to 256.5 if it gets that high, because I mean, these prop markets, the bets move quickly. If people are on it, When they hammer it, it's going to go. It's going to jump. It's not like spreads. It's going to go when somebody hammers it. But this feels like an overreaction to me. I mean, his yards mark based on last week is what it feels like, because 195 yards against the Bears, but the Bears have a much better defense than Washington. I mean, Washington's 28th in defense pass DVOA and has allowed the most passing yards per game, 309.7, 12 more than the next worst team in Jacksonville. So I love Rodgers to go over his passing yards mark in this one.
Love it. Love it. All right, Chicago at Tampa Bay. Your Bears. Tampa Bay laying 13 at home, Joey. Over under on this one's 47. I want to hear your take first on this one with your Bears. You think they can cover that spread?
Yeah, I'm extremely worried. I mean, that's a lot of points. You're talking about double-digit points in the NFL and getting close to two full touchdowns with extra points. I mean, that's an insane spread. And I want to believe that the Bears are going to cover this. I really, really do. But I'm also extremely, extremely nervous that Brady – I mean, the Bears beat him last year, and we all know about that, him forgetting what down it was, Yeah. Nick Foles is like his kryptonite. The Bears defense got some takeaways, played stout defense. You get pressure up the middle against him. That's how you really beat him. But, I mean, I'm hoping they win, obviously. They can cover, especially with their defense. But the injuries, and Tampa Bay is dealing with some injuries too. They got Levante David out. That's a big part of their defense. Antonio Brown out. Gronk out. Richard Sherman, they're all out this week. And Jason Pierre-Paul, he's questionable. So that's a major part of their team. A lot of their team either out or questionable. With Levante David out, maybe the Bears can do what they've been doing well or having success with, running the football with Khalil Herbert. And that's what I'm hoping for here. But the issue is the Bears also have a ton of questionable players. I mean, they've got Robert Quinn placed on the COVID list. He's been great this year. Duke Shelley did not practice. He's questionable. Tayshaun Gibson's out. A number of other guys too, but those guys more limited practice guys and stuff that you might expect to play. Honestly, I'm just going over Justin Fields' rushing prop, 18.5 rushing yards. We know what he can do with the ball in his hands when he gets going. He's been kind of getting out a little bit more recently than how he started. He was trying to stay more in the pocket. And if they get pressure at all, this Bucs defense is so legit. I think they will get pressure against this terrible, playing a little bit better, but mostly because they're running more. The offensive line is still sketchy in the passing game. So I think he's going to rush for over 20 yards in this game, and I'll take the over on his rushing yards.
Yeah, that's a good prop. Joey, you ever had one of those games where you're going to bet and it's like your gut is just telling you to take a side, and no matter what you look at in terms of the stats, whatever, your gut's like, take this. I had that with this game. The problem, Joey, is I've followed my gut too many times and lost too much fucking money.
I've been there, my friend. I've been there.
When I'm looking at this game, for some reason I can't explain, I wanted to take the Bears. I wanted to take the Bears to cover, and then I get looking at it, and it's like I couldn't find any logical reason that the Bears are going to compete in this game. I mean, Tampa Bay, you mentioned it, their defense, number one in their defense, number one in rush defense. Apologies. In Chicago, you look on the other side, 32nd in passing, in yards, and in touchdowns. I mean, they just cannot get a pass game going for the life of them. I wanted to take the Bears. You've got Antonio Brown out in this game for the Bucs, and I think that's going to be a hit. But you've got Brady that can pick up this offense and the other receivers and that. I don't see how the Bears are going to score points in this game. I just don't. I mean, they haven't passed for more than 185 yards with Fields at the helm. I just, they're not going to be able to run on this number one pass defense. I don't see it. I'm taking Tampa Bay, laying the points. 13 is the official line I threw out. I found 11.5 on one site and jumped on that immediately. Yeah, I give me Tampa Bay. Lay the points.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, really. I don't know where the points are going to come from. The way you beat this Tampa team is throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And the best you can hope for is like some backyard ball from Fields, because what's Nagy going to design that the Bucs defense is not going to sniff out? I'm with you. It's a tough. I don't know. I can't disagree with your pick at all.
Yeah, there's such a dichotomy on this Tampa Bay defense. 27th in passing yards, 29th in passing touchdowns allowed, first in rushing yards, first in rushing touchdowns allowed. So you're right. I mean, if you can pass on this Tampa Bay defense, you're golden, and you certainly are going to cover 13. I just don't know if the Bears can do that.
I don't either.
You talked about Fields getting out in the open field and rushing the ball, but you're not going to run on this Tampa Bay defense. So
right.
I'm sitting here. For some reason I wanted to take the Bears, but I couldn't. My head wouldn't allow me. So we'll see. We'll see which one was right this week. But
yeah, definitely. We'll see. Hopefully your gut is. I mean, I hope your gut's wrong.
Yeah, I know.
I hope your gut's wrong for my sanity, but I mean, I'd hate to see you lose money. At the same time, I feel like you're probably right. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I've become friends with so many Bears fans that I'm almost, I'm wanting them to do well, to see you guys' mental health stay solid. But
it's already pretty messed up, and let's be honest. Like, I wanted to say effed up, but I know my mom might be tuning out. It's her birthday, so.
Sorry, Miss Ricotta. We'll try to keep it in line.
Yeah.
All right, Detroit. I'm going to move on to Detroit at Los Angeles. The Rams, the double revenge game, Joey. We got Stafford and Goff coming back, battling their old teams. This is going to be a fun matchup. The spread's a little rough, right? The Rams are laying 16, over-unders 50.5. I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to lay the points, but I don't love it. I don't love big spreads like this. The Rams offense is just too good. Fourth in passing yards so far this year. They are susceptible to the pass, 21st in yards allowed through the air. But what does Detroit have to balance that? 25th in passing in terms of, in Detroit. I just don't see it. To add to injury to insult, or insult to injury, Detroit's top two receivers are out this week. Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. I shouldn't say they're out. They're both questionable, very questionable. I was looking at the injury reports. Again, this is another game. I don't see a gap. I don't see how Detroit's going to score at all. I don't love a big spread like 16, but if you're going to make me pick, I'm going to lay the points to take the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only side I could see myself taking too. But I will say, okay, so I had a thought earlier today, and I'm going to stray away from this game in particular for just a second. When it comes to these, I believe there's 3 games in double digits with favors, right? 3 with Arizona and Houston, I think, too.
That sounds about right. Mm-hmm.
Being the third one. My gut, because I hate in the NFL when there's spreads that are double digits, my gut was to just bet every one of those 3 against on the other side, to bet the dogs against the spread. And just to be like, hey, 2 or 3 of those are probably going to hit, because Vegas has been getting beat by some of these favorites lately. So if I can get 2 or 3 of those, then I'm probably in good shape. But on the other side, I can't bring myself to bet any other team than possibly Houston against Arizona. Yeah. So I mean, I'm with you on that, and I don't have a side here, because I feel like the back door could really be open in this game. Like, I think the Rams are going to get out and just stomp on them to begin with. I really see Stafford coming in and just balling out against his former team. Goff, on the other hand, who knows Jared Goff better than Sean McVay? I mean, it's pretty much led to him to all of his success to this point, if you really want to think about it. I mean, He's not a great quarterback, especially when he's away from McVay. We saw it before he got to the Rams. Goff, I think he was winless before McVay even got there. So, I mean, I don't know. The spread is just a little crazy for me to go that route, but I mean, I like the Rams to go over 33.5 total points. That's where I'm going with it. I think, they average 29.5 and Detroit allows 28.7, but Detroit, they haven't, outside of the Ravens game, which was a home game, they've struggled to stop better offenses and well-coached teams. Like, Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers put up 41 on them. Packers put up 35. The Bengals last week and Burrow put up 34. Yeah. So I think the Rams could easily, especially with the motivated Stafford and McVay and that whole unit, they're easily going to put up 35. So 33.5, I really like the over there for the Rams total.
Yeah, I like that. It's just, one of these things is not like the other, right? Stafford and Goff, coming in and Stafford has just found this fountain of youth and just going off. I mean, it's crazy. 1,800 yards already, 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. On the other side, Goff, 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. You had Stafford spent, like a million years in Detroit and just had, he had a lot of personal success, right? His stats, his fantasy. In fantasy, sure, he was great, but, I could just see this being a big fuck you to the Lions.
Dude, they never, out. I'm with you. They never fucking helped him. Excuse me, Mom, for cussing. They never really helped him. I couldn't not let that one slip because it honestly pisses me off. Even though I'm a Bears fan and I wasn't like minding it, but Detroit's the one team that I wouldn't mind being worse than in the division. And they never helped this guy. Like you talk about Megatron wanting to retire, dating back to before that with Barry Sanders wanting to retire early. Why is that? Because the franchise is just an utter freaking disaster.
Yep.
You got a great quarterback there. I would say he's one of the best in the NFL, especially for his career. And you really look at what, like you said, personal success and all that. Sure, you could say some of it's garbage time. This dude's a warrior, man. He'd stay in there in games when that team had such a losing record. They had no shot at the playoffs, and he's getting mauled out there. And he'd go back out there like, no, I'm good. And he's clearly fucking hurt. And he would somehow guide him to a touchdown drive late in the game.
Right.
You put him in a good system with good surrounding pieces, and now look at him. So
yeah. I can't help but root for Stafford, and it's tough for me. Obviously, he's in my team's division, so I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled about that one.
He was one of those guys. You picked him up in fantasy every year, and you wanted to see him do good, and he deserves some postseason success. He deserves it. So, and I think this is going to be a big double middle finger to Detroit this week. So.
Big time.
I'm good with that. It's a big spread, but I'll lay the points.
Yeah.
All right. Sunday Night Football, Indianapolis going to my San Francisco 49ers. 49ers laying 4, over-unders 42.5. You want to start on this one?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
It's your team, so correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff. This one's tough. This one's real tough, I think. It was tough for me to decide on this. I at first I wanted to go with the Colts, and then I'm like, I can't do that on the road. 49ers coming off of a bye, extra rest. Hard to believe Kyle Shanahan doesn't have a solid game plan here to take away what the Colts have been doing well, neutralizing Carson Wentz, who has looked better recently. But that line does scare me a little bit. The -4, it's just a weird, like in between line, especially with some sharp money on the Colts. That always is to scare you. I know I saw your face when I said that. You probably would same thing thinking, but
so Colts are getting 55% of the bets, but 61% of the money. So a decent jump there from the sharps.
Yeah, definitely. And some injury concerns. Javon Kinlaw out, Maurice Hurst ruled out. Trent Williams doubtful. There's some things in here that, like, when you really peel it back, it's like, all right, I understand why the Niners aren't heavier favorites, especially with how the Colts have been playing recently. But so that's why I'm just staying away entirely from the spread, and I wanted to jump on it, but I'm staying away. I like with Jimmy G coming back. I like his passing yards over. 203.5 is what I found it at. That's the best number that I could find it at. There might be a better number. I think some of them have already been bumped up a little bit on a lot of the books. But if Martellus Bennett is calling you a bitch right before your next game, dude,
Yep.
what else? If that doesn't fire you up, what's going to fire you up? Like, I don't know what will if that's not the case. So I expect Jimmy G to come out guns a-blazing against this Colts 29th ranked pass DVOA defense. I got him projected for at least 220 passing yards, so I'd play that up to 210.5 if it gets that high and you're listening to this a little bit late. But and I also, in a nice like correlation play, I like Deebo Samuel also to go over 59.5. I'd play that to 62.5, 63.5. I like both of those.
Love it. Yeah, I'm always, whenever I go to analyze my own team, I think sometimes I overcompensate, right? And I'll try to be so unbiased. But you know what? I'm taking the Niners on this. I'm laying the points. I think I like the fact that Jimmy G's coming back, right? Trey Lance is down this week. He's got a little bit of a knee issue. And you mentioned the passing yards for Jimmy G. I mean, he struggles, right? He's had some injury concerns, but he's throwing for 231.3 yards per game in what he's played so far this year. Mm-hmm. 5 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. The guy wasn't playing bad before he went down. No, I mean, the Colts defense has proven that they have been exposed against the pass. 230 yards allowed or more for 4 out of their 6 games. I'm good. I was very hesitant with the Trent Williams information. An all-pro tackle being doubtful right now. But listen, the Colts are 29th in pass rush DVOA. You may have mentioned that. So I'm not too concerned about that pass rush, even without a tackle. I'm comfortable with the 49ers at home laying 4. Jimmy G's got a lot to prove right now. Maybe not for these 49ers, but whoever picks him up next, if he can stay healthy. The guy is not done. He still has a career ahead of him. He still wants to play football. He's going to come back. He's going to ball out. And I think they're going to win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, Jimmy G, like you said, he has not played as bad as people probably thought he was going to coming into the year. And they're just like, oh, Trey Lance will be starting by week 2.
Yep.
It's not the case. Lance is not quite ready, and Jimmy G, he's playing pretty well.
Yep, for sure. All right, final game of the slate, the Monday Night Football game, New Orleans at Seattle. New Orleans laying 4.5, and the over/under is 42.5. I'm gonna lay the points on this one, Joey. You're
laying a lot of points this week.
I am, and so here's what I do every week when I analyze my slate. I try to go game by game and not look. This week I got to the bottom, and I am taking all favorites except for one, which scares the shit out of me.
Especially after how much success I think the favorites have been having lately.
Right. And I don't like that at all, Joey. But I look game to game, and this is another one. I mean, New Orleans' weakness, Joey, is in the pass. They're getting torn up. 23rd in passing yards allowed. But they don't allow the rush, right? 2nd in rushing yards. 3rd in defensive DVOA. So this defense is stout. Seattle, shockingly, with Russell Wilson at the helm, has not been able to throw the ball this year. 22nd in the league in passing. I just think this is a bad matchup for Seattle. Seattle has also proven that they can get torched in the run. 30th in yards allowed right now. So I just think this is strengths versus weaknesses, a really bad matchup for Seattle. I'm laying the points here. I'm taking New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think too, like you put him on tape long enough. The Saints didn't play last week, right? I could be wrong. I think they're coming off a bye. I did not look that up.
Yes, they are coming off a bye. Yep, they played. I don't know who they played 2 weeks ago, but they're definitely coming off a bye.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is, I mean, Geno Smith at quarterback, like Sean Payton has had 2 weeks to look at this and see how, especially how the Seattle offense is running without Russell Wilson. And I mean, you put this guy on tape for that long, and he's been in the league for a while, and he hasn't been a starting quarterback for a while either. So I got to believe that Sean Payton's sniffing this out. I think they're going to cover the spread, but I'm not for this show. That's not what I had written down for my bet, but that's what I would do too here. I like the Saints. But yeah, but my actual bet that I had here that I came up with for this game, it's like the Saints forgot how much of a weapon Alvin Kamara is in the passing game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. After 0 targets versus the Giants last week, he had 8 and caught 5 passes for 51 yards, which is a season high in all of those categories: targets, catches, yards, season high. And I think he had a receiving touchdown as well. Maybe there were some chemistry issues, I'm thinking, with him and Jameis Winston under center this year at first. But, I mean, Sean Payton, he should realize how important getting Kamara the ball in space is. The Seahawks have allowed the second most receiving yards to opposing running backs. So at 28.5 receiving yards, which is what I found this at, I'd love Alvin Kamara to go over that receiving yard number.
Yeah, New Orleans needs to figure something out. I mean, second most or second least passing yards in the league right now, and you have such a weapon out of the backfield with that. You're right. I mean, at some point, I mean, Sean Payton is no idiot. The guy's been around. He'll figure it out.
Especially after a bye, you know what I mean? Look at their receiving weapons without Michael Thomas. They don't have really anybody other than you got to use him. Like, he's a stud.
Yep, agreed. Okay, well, that was the last game of the slate. Joey, I want to hear of those 7 games of your picks. What's your lock of the week?
Lock of the week.
We're going to crack them. We're going to crack them for our lock of the week.
Crack them locks, baby. All right. That's why I need a can. I need to start getting a can. The crack isn't quite as, smooth.
It's the same.
You get the bottle. It's like, that's a twist. It's not it's like a, and you got the, so I guess real quickly before we do the crack them locks, I should have said this beforehand. I do have an honorable mention. I didn't even
go for it.
I like the Eagles money line. I like the Eagles +3.
Okay.
Eagles have had a much tougher schedule, 6th toughest according to TeamRankings.com, and the Raiders have the 22nd toughest. So not a very tough schedule. Letdown spot after a big win following John Gruden's departure, I think. So I think the Eagles should be favored here. I like the +3 if you have, if you don't feel comfortable with the money line, but I think the Eagles win that game. So
yeah, the whole John Gruden saga brings a whole other aspect to that. What's that team got on their mind? Is there, some residual just non-focus through all that bullshit? Yeah, that's a good call. I like that.
Yeah, and because you have to think last week they were super fired up, right? We don't want to hear about this shit anymore. We're just gonna come out. We're gonna win. And this week it's all right, the smoke is settled, but what's the lingering effect? Like you said, kind of, I don't know. I think I really like the Eagles here. My lock of the week. I mean, that could have been it. Honestly, I really like the Eagles. I do, but I'm not going to use that. I don't know. I went back and forth on this a few times. I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. He's going over his 28.5 receiving yards. This guy, man, when you look at like his past season's game logs as far as receiving yards goes, just smashes this number week in and week out. So you give me this because of the slow start to the season. Give me that all day. It's only a matter of time before he starts to really go off in the passing game. They got to figure it out. And 2 weeks time preparation for Peyton, like we just said, they're going to figure it out. And they're, facing the team that's second worst in receiving yards allowed to running back. So it's just, it all adds up to me. That's my lock of the week.
Love it. I'm taking Tennessee plus 4.5 on the Chiefs. I just see too many holes in this Kansas City defense. The success that Tennessee has had recently with that win over Buffalo, maybe it's recency bias, but I love Derrick Henry just to eat this Chiefs defense up and cover that for sure, if not win at home.
Yeah.
These are not your Chiefs of the last 2 years.
They're not. Man, they lose this game, they're in trouble.
100%. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Did you see them making the playoffs if they lose this game?
No.
That is such a downfall or like fall from grace.
Yeah, isn't it? Back-to-back Super Bowls, one win. I mean,
it's insane.
Yeah, there's something wrong over there, and it needs to be addressed because there's not a big difference in personnel. I don't understand it.
Okay. I don't want to get into a big thing about it, but do you think that some of the turnovers will get figured out? Because it feels like some of the issues are also like some turnovers with Mahomes, or do you think he's just like kind of trying to play hero ball because he knows the defense is just sucks?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the league figuring him out and him trying to do too much. It was talked about pretty early. There were some plays early on in the season where the no-look passes and stuff when they're not necessary. I'm not saying that's an every week occurrence, but I think the league has caught up. I do.
Wow, I don't know if that's a hot take, but you could be right. You never know. It would be weird for it to be like they're catching up 3 seasons late.
That's true.
So, my gut tells me they're going to figure this out and ultimately make a push here. Probably, even if it's a wild card, I feel like they're going to get into the playoffs. I just can't see him going down this he's a terrible quarterback now. But he's not playing terribly. Let's not say that.
No.
I say that, but it could be that they figured out enough to neutralize him to some extent, though.
Yeah. Kansas City just has to figure this defense out. Bottom line.
Yeah, invest in it for once. Yeah.
All right, Joey. Well, it's been real. Headed into the weekend, we got a lot of good bets going, and hope they're winners.
Me too, man. I think we got some good ones on tap.
Let's do it.
Oh, and I didn't even some of the odds I meant to shout out I got a lot of them from Bet Rivers, but you already did the shout out on that sponsor. But I was sponsoring both right there. I was I hope we got some good ones on tap, and then I don't know. Anyway,
love it. All right, folks. As always, thanks for listening in. Make sure to go follow our page at On Tap Bets. You can follow Joey at the Riot 326, and I'm Zach at Iowa Zach. Make sure you're following our parent account too at On Tap Sportsnet. Other than that, have a great weekend. Happy betting, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.